Good morning, freedom fighter cypherpunks. How you doing? All right, it is Wednesday. How you doing Wednesday? We are bullish as fuck. It is Wednesday. We feel like something's gonna pump out of to the moon. How you doing, freedom fighter cypherpunks? How you doing? You know what time it is? It's time to drill in Maker DAO into our brains until it is just in our minds at all the time. We're just like sleeping and we're counting dies as in our sleep instead of sheep. All right, how you doing, freedom fighter cypherpunks? Let's take a look how you doing. All right, so here we go. So we're looking at the P maker for pulse chain. We have the system's lines of defense. So at any point, the system must have more value in collateral than the value of the DAI supplied. The following mechanisms help maintain system solvency. 1. Supply and demand of the vaults and thus DAI is influenced by the stability fees, the daily savings rate, and the debt ceiling adjustments. 2. The liquidations at any time the collateral value of the vault gets closer to its debt, it becomes a riskier vault. So the system will then liquidate that to get rid of the risk. Also, what it'll do is it'll have these P maker governance tokens that it'll mint and burn. If the maker holders govern the maker protocol successfully, the protocol will accrue surplus DAI as DAI holders pay stability fees. On the other hand, if liquidations are inadequate, then the protocol will accrue bad debt. Once this surplus DAI/bad debt amount hits a threshold as voted by the maker DAO holders, the P maker holders, then the protocol will discharge the surplus DAI bad debt to the flapper and flopper smart contracts by buying and burning and minting and selling maker respectively. And also for the other list, the emergency line of defense is the emergency shutdown. We know about that. This is a process that is used as a last resort in extreme cases of extreme market irrationality, attacks, or coordinated upgrades. Emergency shutdown gracefully settles the maker platform while ensuring that all users, both DAI holders and vault users, receive the net value of the assets they are entitled to. So liquidations. A vault is automatically liquidated if the collateral in USD terms falls too low, which we already mentioned. Part of the collateral is auctioned off by the protocol to cover the outstanding debt plus penalty fee, because they want to get rid of that bad debt, right? DAI is then burned by the protocol to decrease the supply. The vault owner receives the leftover collateral. So I want to bring that up because the burning is very important, because people get stuck on the 44 billion supply. But what happens is, I saw this is Turned Salty, he posted this. Once you understand this, everything starts to make sense. Every vow, which is the contract that keeps track of all the P maker balances, burn permanently destroys P DAI. So what he's saying is, I responded to him with a bunch of stuff because I was reading the docs. So this refers to a deficit clearing or debt auction mechanism in the Pulse Maker system, especially as bad debts from the fork are being addressed. The system, sometimes called, carries bad debt, negative balance in the vow, shown as a deficit like negative 115 million P DAI in the past examples. To resolve this, the Pulse Maker can mint P maker, the new governance tokens, and sell them or auction them to buy P DAI, right? Then the received P DAI from the auction is then used to buy back and burn the bad debt related P DAI from the system, permanently removing it from circulation. The net effect is that the P DAI supply decreases. It gets rarer and burned, while more P maker gets minted to incentivize participants who help clean up the debt. This is a built-in stabilizer to handle imbalances. Now, does everybody remember when Richard Hart posted that random chart? It looked like a cock, basically. It was like it went up, it went for a little bit, and then it went down, right? You remember that? Let me just get on screen here. It was like this. It went up, and then it had like a little up, and then maybe a lower high, and then it went down. Remember that? And that was the P DAI supply chart, increasing and then decreasing, but it wasn't labeled as P DAI chart. Remember that? How you doing, freedom fighter? All the pieces are coming together. Hang on. How you doing? So we addressed that, we addressed the burning. The bad debt is just unbacked P DAI. That just means like what we have now. We have a bunch of P DAI floating around, but there's no collateral to back it to bring it to $1. This is all a flop auction, what I'm going to talk about. So we have the vault or the VAT, which is the same thing. The current situation is that we have bad debt. In order to peg, you need the collateral to be greater than 150% of the value of the cDAI out there, or otherwise known as circulating cDAI. So the val represents the maker protocol's balance, which we talked about earlier, as the result of both system surplus and system debt. Its function is to cover the deficit via the debt auctions and discharge surpluses via surplus auctions. So it uses P-maker. So for instance, on the flop, like this one, it'll mint P-maker and then sell it for cDAI, and then use that cDAI to buy the bad debt, and then that cDAI gets burnt, all right? And then on the flap with an A, it would do the opposite. It would take the cDAI, buy the maker, I believe, and then use the maker to buy the bad debt, I believe. I have to study the flap. We're focused on the flop right now. How you doing? So right here we have the cDAI deficit, because we have all this cDAI and also cDAI just circulating with nothing going on. How you doing? Well, more on this later, the cDAI. Debt auctions are used to recapitalize the system by auctioning off maker for a fixed amount of DAI, and the bidders compete to bid with the DAI for decreasing amounts of P-maker. The flopper is a debt auction house. Debt auctions are used to satisfy the val's debt by auctioning off the maker for a fixed amount of internal DAI. Internal DAI means in the VAT, where external DAI is like the circulating supply, just so you're aware. Bidders compete with decreasing amount requests of maker. After the auction settlement, the flopper sends the received internal DAI to the val to cancel out its debt. The flopper mints maker to the winning bidder. All right, so the priorities for the flopper: raise an amount of DAI equivalent to the amount of bad debt as fast as possible and minimize the amount of maker inflation. So P-maker mints, during the flop auction, I should say, P-maker mints cDAI to bid on the fixed amount of cDAI, decreasing amounts of P-maker for the flop. All right. And also remember, live must equal 1 for the cat to bite to see the cage, all right? How you doing, freedom fighter, cyberpunk? Now, why is this important? Because it all comes back to the money markets, which is our baseline economic activity, which helps maintain the peg. And why, you ask? Great question. So my theory is, I don't know if any of this is true, but it makes sense to me, so I'm going with it. How you doing? It's bullish because I think it's bullish. How you doing? All right, so P compound, let's use that as an example. So right now, there's a ton of C Bitcoin, C ETH, and C DAI floating around in circulation, right? But we don't have the protocol working really, as far as I know. So if we have all these possible collaterals, right? Because I remember they changed the what you can use as collateral in the vaults or the VATs. Remember they did that vote for many, I think it was last year, or the year before. I think they put People's Wrap Bitcoin, People's Wrap ETH, and cDAI. So what they could do, or if they even added the C Bitcoin or the C ETH, or there's 2 ways they can go about this with the cDAI. So you can either have the circulating tokens that you can have now. You could take these tokens, deposit them, or redeem them for the C token, and then use the C token as your collateral. Or you could take your currency tokens that are floating around here, redeem them for the collateral, Bitcoin or ETH, wrapped ETH or DAI, and then use these as your collateral to get to your peg. You see how that works? How you doing? Now, why is that crazy? I'm gonna come back to that. So this works for P-Ave too, because there's A Bitcoin, A DAI, or depending on if it's V3 or V2. V2 would be A ETH wrap Bitcoin or A ETH wrap DAI, whatever. But the same thing. They're all floating around, and you could deposit and get your Bitcoin, or deposit and get your DAI out, your cDAI out, and then use it as collateral. I don't know if you can use these as collateral. I don't remember, but I wanted to go back to what did I want to do? I wanted to go back to this because the cDAI is important. I don't remember why I wanted to go back, but so I really do think these money markets are going to play a major role, because you can move things around and add collateral. There's a lot of things to do here to keep the peg very stable. Yeah, so that's really it. I have to remember what I wanted to say with the compound. There is something I wanted to say and I wanted to add, but I can't remember at the top of my head. It'll come. I'm doing this every day. Don't worry, I'll add it a little bit every day. How you doing, freedom fighter, cyberpunk? You see how it's all coming together? You might watch this and you actually watch it from beginning to end and you understand it. You might even have more to add, you know? and it might make even more sense to you. So that's why I'm doing this, so that everybody can have like some kind of baseline and add what they know, because I don't know everything. I don't know anything. And I'm just kind of learning like with you, you know, we're kind of going together and hoping we're right, you know, but we believe. And that's all that really matters, is that we believe that this is going to work, because we're not fucking geniuses, or else we would build it ourselves, right? With vibe coding. How you doing, vibe coding? So yeah, long video, but like, this is how we learn, right? At least how I learned before No Child Left Behind. They just ingrained it in my brain. There was no like crazy learning styles and shit like that. How you doing, freedom fighters, cypher punks? Everything to $1. cDAI to $1. People drop Bitcoin to parity. It's gonna be shocking the world, to which the likes you don't even understand. How you doing, freedom fighters, cypher punks? How you doing, man? Oh yeah, I just remembered what I want to say. So let's go back to this screen real quick. So the reason why I think these money markets are going to be big, because like, ready? You can have, let's say you have an LP pool, right? LP pool on ETH, and then you have an LP pool on Pulse, right? So now you have one here. Let's say you do, put the wrong one, sorry. Let's delete that. Let's say you have a cDAI pool. A cDAI. We'll do a Pulse cDAI pool. And let's just say you have the Ethereum cDAI. We'll just leave that as cDAI, right? And then you do the same thing over here. And you put a cDAI P-wrapped cDAI, right? Now, so for instance, ready? So right now on Ethereum, cDAI is about like 2.5 cents, and it probably can go up, you know? So if they have this pool, we have a pool of cDAI and Ethereum DAI on Pulse, and then we have the same pool on ETH. We have Liberty Swap to arbitrage the pools, and that can bring the price up to 2 cents, 2.5 cents. And how much supply do we have? Think about it. We have like trillions, like almost 250 trillion cDAI. Do the math. 250 trillion times 2 cents at the very minimum. Even if you do 1 cent, think about how much collateral it is just from cDAI alone. That was what I wanted to say. That's a thought experiment, all right? Let that marinate in your brain, and then you'll figure it out. You'll be like, oh my God, cDAI is $1. Because you know why? It might be 2 cents, but when you redeem it for PDAI, it's $1. Whoa. Mind blown. How you doing? cDAI is $1. You just don't know it yet. You don't believe it yet, but you will when it happens. How you doing, freedom fighters, cypher punks? All right, guys, I love you. I hope you love me. Freedom fighters, cypher punk. How you doing, motherfucker?